In 2023, a survey by Bankrate found that 57% of Americans cannot cover an unexpected expense of $1,000 without borrowing money or going into debt, more than half the country. And what makes that number genuinely alarming is not just the size of it, it is who it includes. It includes people with decent jobs, people with college degrees, people who, from the outside, look like they have their finances together. Because the absence of an emergency fund is not a poverty problem. It is a habit problem, a system problem, and it is one of the most fixable financial problems that exists. Today I am going to give you the complete, step-by-step blueprint to build a real emergency fund in 60 days, starting from wherever you are right now, even if that starting point feels like the financial floor. This is not a motivational speech. This is a working plan with specific actions, specific timelines, and specific numbers. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to do, starting today. Welcome back. I am Warren, and this is the channel where financial plans get built, not just talked about. If you are ready to take real action on your money, hit that like button right now, subscribe, and let us get to work. Let us start with the honest conversation that most financial content skips entirely. The reason most people do not have an emergency fund is not laziness. It is not ignorance. It is that at some point they looked at the gap between where they were financially and where they needed to be. And the gap felt so large that doing nothing seemed more reasonable than failing to close it completely. So the first and most important thing I'm going to do is remove that gap. Not by pretending it is small, but by giving you a target and a timeline that make it genuinely closable for almost anyone. Here is the blueprint. The psychology before the plan. Before we talk about a single dollar, we need to talk about the story you are telling yourself about why you cannot save. Because that story, whatever version of it lives in your head, is almost certainly the biggest obstacle between you and a funded emergency account. Not your income, not your expenses. The story. The most common version sounds like this. I would save more, but there is genuinely nothing left at the end of the month. This feels true. It feels true because by the time the month is over, the money is gone. But here is the critical distinction. The money being gone by the end of the month is not evidence that there was nothing to save. It is evidence that saving was not the first priority. It is evidence that everything else, rent, food, subscriptions, impulse spending, convenience purchases, social obligations, got paid first, and saving got whatever was left, which was nothing. The psychological shift required here is deceptively simple. Savings must move from last to first, not conceptually, structurally, mechanically. Before you spend on anything else in a given pay period, a predetermined amount goes into a separate savings account. This one change, moving savings from an afterthought to a first action, is responsible for more successful emergency funds than any income increase or expense cut has ever been. Hold that concept. We are going to build an entire system around it. Week 1. Clarity and setup. The first 7 days of the 60-day plan are entirely about preparation. Day 1. Calculate your real monthly expenses. Not your estimated expenses. Your real ones. Pull up the last 30 days of transactions across every account and card you use. Add up everything: housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, subscriptions, dining, entertainment, miscellaneous. Get one honest number that represents what you actually spent last month, not what you wish you had spent. Write it down. Day 2. Identify your monthly take-home income from all sources. The total reliable money coming in every month, after taxes. Write that down next to your expense number. The gap between these two numbers, positive or negative, is your current financial reality, not your feelings about it, the math. Day 3 and 4. Go line by line through your expense list and mark every item as either essential or non-essential. Essential means it cannot be removed without genuine consequence. Housing, utilities, food, transportation to work, medication. Non-essential means it could be paused, reduced, or eliminated for 60 days without meaningfully impacting your life. Be honest. Be ruthless. This is where real money gets found. Day 5. Open a dedicated high-yield savings account if you do not already have one. Name it Emergency Fund. Do not use the account at your primary bank if you can help it. The physical separation of the account from your daily banking adds a psychological barrier that protects the money. Online banks like Marcus, Ally, or SoFi consistently offer significantly higher interest rates than traditional banks, meaning your money grows faster even during the 60-day build. Day 6 and 7. Set up an automatic transfer to your new emergency fund account. The amount should be whatever you can commit to consistently from every single paycheck, even if it is only $25. The specific amount matters less than the consistency and the automation. The transfer should happen on the same day your paycheck lands, not a few days later. The same day. By the end of week 1, you have clarity about your financial reality, a dedicated account, and an automated system already in motion. The foundation is built. Weeks 2 and 3, the aggressive 60-day cuts. Now we move into the part of the plan that requires the most discipline, and the most important reframe to make that discipline feel manageable. Everything in weeks 2 and 3 is temporary. You are not changing your lifestyle forever. You are executing a focused 60-day sprint to build a financial foundation that will protect your lifestyle for years. Temporary is psychologically powerful. Research on behavior change consistently shows that people are far more willing to make significant short-term sacrifices when there is a specific, visible end date. 60 days is specific. 60 days is visible. 60 days of tighter spending is something anyone can survive. And for most people, the habits formed during those 60 days end up being partially permanent in the best possible way. So what gets cut? Every subscription service that is not essential, streaming platforms, app subscriptions, music services, membership fees, all paused. If you are paying for multiple streaming services, keep one, pause the rest. Dining out goes to once per week at absolute maximum. Coffee shops, food delivery, and convenience meals go to near zero for 60 days. Alcohol, entertainment, and discretionary shopping go on hold entirely. For most people in a genuine financial crunch, these cuts alone free up somewhere between $100 and $300 per month. Over 60 days, that is $200 to $600, a meaningful percentage of a $1,000 emergency fund target, coming entirely from existing spending that was not genuinely necessary. The mindset for this phase is simple. Every dollar you do not spend on something non-essential in these 60 days is a dollar that goes to work protecting your future self from financial panic. That is not a sacrifice, that is an investment. Weeks 2 through 4. The Income Acceleration Strategy. Cuts create room. Income creates momentum. And to hit a $1,000 emergency fund in 60 days when starting from a genuinely tight financial position, most people need both. This is where the income acceleration strategy comes in. And the goal is specific. Generate an additional $200 to $500 above your normal income during the 60-day period through one or more of the following approaches. Sell what you are not using. Walk through your home with fresh eyes and identify everything that has real resale value and that you have not used, worn, or touched in the last 6 to 12 months. Clothing, electronics, furniture, sporting equipment, tools, instruments, books, collectibles, kitchen appliances. List them on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Poshmark, or local selling apps. Price them fairly to move quickly. For most people, this exercise generates $200 to $400 within 2 to 3 weeks, often from things they had completely forgotten they owned. Monetize a skill in your immediate network. What do you know how to do that other people need done and will pay for? Lawn care, cleaning, driving, tutoring, tech support, photography, writing, design, cooking, handyman work, pet care, child care. You do not need a business license or a formal setup. You need to tell 10 people in your life what you are offering and ask if they need it or know someone who does. Most people who take this step generate their first paid engagement within a week. Take on extra hours at your current job during this 60-day window if overtime or additional shifts are available. If your employer does not offer that, look at weekend or evening work through rideshare platforms, delivery services, or short-term task platforms like TaskRabbit. The goal is not a second career, it is additional income for 60 days. The combination of the cuts from weeks 2 and 3 and the income acceleration strategy is what makes the 60-day timeline achievable for most people, regardless of income level. Cuts without income increases can feel punishing without delivering the full target. Income increases without cuts can generate additional money that simply gets absorbed into lifestyle. Together, they create a controlled, focused sprint toward a specific goal, and that combination almost always works. The midpoint check-in. Day 30. At the 30-day mark, stop and measure your actual progress. How much is in the emergency fund account right now? How much did the cuts generate? How much did the income acceleration strategy add? What is the remaining gap to $1,000? This check-in serves two important purposes. First, it gives you real data about whether the plan is on track, and if it is not, it gives you 30 days to adjust your approach rather than discovering on day 60 that you missed the target. Second, and perhaps more importantly, it gives you concrete evidence of your own capability. 30 days of consistent effort should have moved the needle in a way that is visible and encouraging. Seeing real progress in a savings account that was empty a month ago is one of the most motivating financial experiences a person can have, because it makes abstract future success feel tangible and real. If you are on track, stay the course. If you are behind, identify specifically why. Which cuts did not happen, which income efforts did not materialize, and make targeted adjustments for the second 30 days. The goal is $1,000 in 60 days, but the method is flexible enough to absorb real-life imperfection and still get you there. Protecting the fund. The rules that make it last. Getting to $1,000 is the first victory. Keeping it there is the ongoing practice, and this is where a lot of people stumble. Not because they lack discipline in general, but because they never established clear rules about what the fund is actually for before they needed to dip into it. A genuine emergency has three characteristics. It is unexpected, it was not foreseeable and therefore not plannable. It is necessary, it cannot be deferred without real consequences, and it is urgent. It requires a response now, not eventually. Car repair that prevents you from getting to work. Emergency medical expense. Sudden job loss. These qualify. A sale on something you wanted. A social event you do not want to miss. A vacation that would be fun. A gadget or clothing purchase. None of these qualify, no matter how much the moment makes them feel urgent. Write your emergency definition down before you need it. Keep it somewhere you will see it when the temptation to dip into the fund arises, because the temptation will arise and it will feel justified when it does. Your pre-written definition is the protection against a justified feeling decision that is not actually justified. What comes after $1,000? The $1,000 starter emergency fund is your first line of financial defense, but it is not the finish line. Once you hit the target, the goal shifts to building toward the full recommended 3 to 6 months of living expenses, the number that provides genuine, comprehensive financial security against job loss, major health events, or other extended crises. Here is the encouraging reality. Once you have built the starter fund and established the habits and systems to do it, growing toward the full target is significantly easier than getting started was. The automatic transfer is already in place. The extra income habits you built may already be generating ongoing results. The spending audit revealed permanent inefficiencies you may have already cut from your budget for good. The starter fund changes your relationship with financial risk. The full fund changes your relationship with your entire financial life. People with 3 to 6 months of expenses saved experience measurably lower financial anxiety, make better long-term financial decisions, are more willing to negotiate salaries and take career risks, and weather economic disruptions without the kind of panic-driven choices that set financial progress back by years. 60 days to $1,000. Then a sustained, automated, consistent push to the full target. The blueprint is the same. The habits are already built. And every dollar that goes in from this point forward is building a version of your life that is genuinely, measurably more free. Here is the 60-day blueprint in its simplest form. Shift savings from last to first, structurally, automatically, before anything else gets paid. Spend week 1 getting clear on your real numbers and setting up your system. Execute 60 days of aggressive but temporary spending cuts. Run one income acceleration strategy in parallel to hit the gap. Check in at day 30 and adjust if needed. Protect the fund with a written definition of what actually qualifies as an emergency. And once you hit $1,000, keep the same systems running until you reach the full 3 to 6 month target. More than half of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency without going into debt. By 60 days from today, you can be on the other side of that statistic. Not because your income changed, not because life got easier, because you had a real plan and you executed it. Start today. Open the account today. Begin the audit today. Because 60 days from this moment, you will either have a safety net or you will have another month of financial vulnerability that you could have avoided. Drop a comment below and tell me your starting point right now and where you want to be in 60 days. I read every single comment. And if this gave you the plan you needed, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who is one unexpected expense away from a financial crisis. I am Warren, and I will see you in the next one.